Now let's have a look at a variation of the C system, and this is pivoting manually. So if you're not already used to step in, and you have to work on this a little while, you can position your body as if you would have already stepped in, and then just pivot in from the opposite shadow that you aligned first to the center of the cue ball. So on a cut shot to the left, we always start at the left shadow of the cue ball. And when we pivot in manually, we just pivot in from the right shadow. 3 important things that you have to know. Go down with your vision center until you perceive the shadow of the cue ball that has already shrinked and cuts the cue ball in quarters. Second, don't put your hand down on the cloth when you pivot. Just go to the opposite shadow and then pivot inside. And while you do that pivot, your hand touches the cloth. And the third thing is, always bend down with your body and your head and your dominant eye along the ETO line. If the ETO line is shadow to center, bend down with your head and your dominant eye right into the direction of the center of the object ball. If our ETO line is shadow to edge, we have to bend down with our head right into the direction of the edge of the object ball. And if you do as advised, you will be very successful with this great method. So here you've got a great view on the cue ball, and this is how it works. This is my line, shadow to center. I position my body here, shadow to center, and when I go down, I just start at the opposite shadow and just pivot in. Naturally, it works for all angles in between 0 and 22.5 degrees. This is my line, shadow to center, and this is the shadow from which I pivot in. So I'm standing here, I pivot in from this shadow, it works for draw shot as well, no problem. This is my line, shadow to center. I go down to this shadow and pivot back to center, that's all. So very, very easy to learn. Important is not to put your bridge hand down already, but just point to the opposite shadow while your left hand is still a little bit in the air. Just like this. And then just pivot to center when you get down with your bridge hand. On long straight shots, just do the same, but don't pivot to center from the center of the tip pointing to the shadow, but with the left outside of the shaft pointing to the shadow, that's all. So like this here, pivot, just a little pivot of like 1 to 2 millimeters. Once again. There's a perfect hit. Pretty straight, very slight cut to the right. So, just to this shadow with the center on normal distances of 2 or 3 diamonds. If the shot is longer, just pivot in with your outside part of the shaft and pivot back to center. Okay, so let's have a pretty straight in here. Just like that, just a little pivot. It is just as easy as for the first category here in our second category. Our alignment is shadow to edge. Always start at the left shadow when you want to cut the object ball to the left. And then just pivot in from the opposite shadow, that's all. See my alignment here, shadow to edge. And I just pivot in from this right shadow to the center of the cue ball. So let's just shoot all those shots here from category 2. So here is a half ball cut, shot, 30 degrees. I line shadow to edge from the left side, pivot in from this shadow to the right. That's all. So you saw it's pretty easy. Just align shadow to edge and pivot in from the opposite shadow from which you started. So let's start for category 3 here. With this shot, I position the object ball in between the first and the second diamond away from the short rail. Like 3 balls underneath the foot spot. I line edge to edge, right edge to the left edge if I want to cut the object ball to the right. I just position my feet in a 90-degree angle, that's all. Go down to this shadow and pivot to center. And we can split the pocket. If I want to make this razor thin cut, the one ball is now positioned right 1 diamond away from the long rail. I can point from the pocket through the one ball right opposite the second diamond, and I just align edge to edge. And the only thing that's different is that I don't pivot in from the center of my tip pointing to the shadow, but my inside, the right side of my shaft here is pointing the shadow. That's all. That's the difference. Just bend down. Let's have another look at a really thin cut. So this ball here is right 1 width of a ball away from the diamond, 3 millimeters away from the rail, and my cue ball is just on a vertical line from the diamond behind the one ball to 1 diamond away from the one ball. So this is a right perfect 75-degree cut shot. Edge to edge is my alignment, and I just start from the inner side of my shaft and pivot in. That's all. On those razor thin cuts, you can even pivot in from the edge to edge, pivot here from the edge, just back to the center, that's all. So, and you can't make any thinner cut than that. consistently, but this is really great.